One of the biggest misconceptions to witchcraft online is that you need expensive tools, aesthetics, and endless money to have a really good spiritual practice. But as a disabled witch, that's never been realistic for me. And honestly, thrifting has made my practice feel far more magical, far more personal, and really more sustainable. Today, we're talking about thrifting and witchcraft. So grab that cup of tea, let's get to it. When we're talking about witchcraft, it has a very big connotation in our head, whether that's something evil or something just for October, or if it's something really spiritual and deep with candles and spells and, this whole aesthetic. It's hard sometimes to know the real witches from the people cosplaying as witches. And I think that's something that I've struggled with in the past, is I follow people who are just doing the aesthetics. But having limited energy, being disabled, having budgets and chronic illness, and the reality of trying to have a witchcraft practice that is meaningful and sacred, it really meant for me building something special over time, as opposed to today I have everything I need. I love how thrifted items have history to them. They have personality, they have dinks in and bashes and scratches. They have all this to them that makes them so special, and I love using them in my practice because a lot of these items would just get put in landfill. I think having character and soul and having a very personal look to your practice is something that is so important to me as a witch. I don't want to just have the perfect altar that looks Instagram worthy. My altar is not Instagram worthy, and yet I still share it upon Instagram and here on YouTube, because I think it's important to know that real witches aren't always able to achieve those things, and I am one of them. So why does thrifting feel magical? It's a really good question, and I think a lot of the time it's the joy of the hunt. It's finding these treasures and giving them a makeover, being drawn to something by your intuition and seeing them as something different to what they were created to be. I think quite often it's the fact that those items call to you when you're in the charity shop looking round. And like just the other day I found something and it was like behind and there was stuff like all around it and you couldn't see properly what it was until I pulled it out. I think that's the joy of it for me. And I think also it's the knowledge that I'm saving things from landfill and I'm having a practice that's more sustainable for this country that's all about throwing away and getting new. I think rejecting that consumerism is a big part of my witchcraft practice. It's a big part of my my activism as a witch. And me standing up against all these big companies that are trying to get me to buy. What I love about it is that my altar has grown organically. I have things that are full of meaning and full of the joy of I found this here, or I got this here, or this belonged to a family member or a neighbour or somebody who passed away. I love that. A chipped vintage goblet can feel like the most magical thing you've ever touched because you found it yourself and you upcycled it or you dedicated it to a god or goddess. It's so much more magical than mass-produced things that every other witch has, everybody else is using. And I think sometimes we need to think outside the box and find ways to create and use things in a much more imaginative way. I think quite often as disabled people, we are excluded from these wellness, spiritual kind of shops and people claiming to do Reiki and acupuncture and nutrition and take these vitamins and all your symptoms will go away. But when you click on it, you're unable to do it because although they claim it's for people with disabilities and chronic illness, we're priced out the market. I think quite often people forget that witchcraft should be accessible. There are a lot of you who have come to my channel saying, oh my god, it's amazing to find a disabled witch, talking about what it's like to be a disabled witch. I think it's so rare that we have the voices, or we feel like we can speak up. A lot of places are inaccessible to us. Just a little tiny little story time here. I follow this amazing creator, Lauren Moss, I think her last name is. I'll leave a link to her channel, and this is not a comment on her at all. But she went to an event and she posted a reel about this event, or a video about it. I'll leave a link to everything down below. But when I watched it, it was just in a field. There was no thought about how would somebody in a wheelchair get around, because it is extremely difficult to get around a field in a wheelchair. And I made a comment like, this looks amazing, but I could never go because it's inaccessible. And somebody replied to me saying something like, what did they say now? It's something like, well, everyone would pitch in to help you. And I'm like, what are you going to do? Carry me all around the place? What, am I going to be like one of those people, you know, where they have like the chairs for the gods and they have people walking below? Like, no, that's not accessibility. It's not making me feel included in your spiritual space. And so I think quite often we get forgotten, and that is why I really want to scream from the rooftops that spirituality shouldn't be about wealth. It shouldn't be about what I've got to show you on my Instagram feed. It should be more organic and rooted in reality. So getting back to the subject at hand, what do I thrift for my altar? And I've talked about thrifting and witchcraft before, so I'll leave links down below. But quite often I use offering bowls, and great things can be used. Do you know those crystal glass dishes and bowls that people used to have for their dressing tables? You can use those. You can use any kind of tiny pretty dish. There's so many dishes out there that are very small that are meant for rings and stuff, and they'll have pictures on, like, painted on them or printed on them. If you look closely and look around, you'll be able to find something that goes with your god or goddess. You will. You really will. Trinket dishes, teacups are great for this. Candle holders can be really cool. I love using, you know, those old-fashioned like candle holders that you see back in the day. I'm doing the action right now. It's like a dish with a candlestick in the middle and a little thing to put your finger through. You can find them at nearly every single charity shop. It's tempting to buy them all. Just a little tip that I found quite a while ago, and I love doing candle magic with the herbs on there instead of on the actual candle. It just works so much better for me personally, because the way my hands work, my grip is, all that kind of thing. So something to think about. You can use these little dishes and bowls for moon water, for spell remains. You can use them for crystals. You can use them for endless things in witchcraft. And they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and themes. I even found at the charity shop like bags full of shells that people buy when they're on holiday somewhere, and it seems like a good idea, like I'll use it for a craft someday, and they never do. So they take them to the charity shop. They're great to pick up. Whenever I see shells, I grab them immediately, because they can be used for crafting and they can be used as offering dishes. And in fact, that's what I've used for all my offering dishes, because I'm a Piscean witch and I want to bring the sea and water into all of my practice. Goblets and cups, these can be found in so many different ways. I found like literal goblets, like hand carved goblets. I've found vintage glasses, chalices. I've found crystal glasses, and I've used all of the above at different times in my journey. They can be used for deity offerings. They can be used for spell work. If you're drinking certain potions, be careful that they can be ingested. Ritual drinks, that sort of thing. Ancestor offerings. And for pouring things into a bath or making a tea for such thing, even moon rituals, all sorts of things. And it's lovely to be able to make rituals feel magical because it's got that vintage witch kind of look to it. It just makes me feel like I'm this beautiful vintage witch. I did put a reel up and a short up about what my vintage witch aesthetic is, so I'll leave a link to that down below because yeah, it makes me feel like that. Now, one thing that really can cost the actual earth are statues and figurines. Now for me, this is just, it's insane. Like, I looked up what a little statue of Hecate, probably about the size of my head, was, and it was about £150, and I was like, pourquoi? That's more than a week's shopping for me, my husband and my mother. That's insane. Not doing it. Even if I had the money, wouldn't spend it. Because for me, it's about finding something that has that energy, that speaks to you. So I love thrifting the items that I use. I have a beautiful statue that I found for like £1.50. It's of like a mother and child, and it's absolutely stunning. It's like this big, it's massive, and it's beautiful on my ancestral altar. Also love that I have a Hecate statue, which is like a Greek goddess, just like generic Greek goddess statue, and that looks beautiful on my altar. I've also been lucky enough to find angel statues, animals for your spirit. Do we say spirit animals? I always get muddled up what you can and can't say when I'm on a foggy day like today, because it's really hot today. But I think the animals that we work with, you can find vintage religious items like statues. There's a lot of Catholic items out there. I also have found little statues of the Virgin Mary. A lot of my ancestors on my mother's side of the family were Catholic, so why not use things like that and that sort of iconography for your ancestors? That's what I've been doing. I also love finding nature figurines and things like folklore kind of things can be found, like little green, you know, the Green Man statues. You can find that sort of thing in there, especially this time of year when people are gardening and they're going through and getting rid of stuff they don't want anymore. You find a lot of things to make like a nature altar outside, maybe busts that can go for, you know, your deities, and candle holders that can become deity symbols. You can find things that you can paint and upcycle. It's amazing, and I just love that it makes it accessible to those of us who don't have the ability or the want to spend a fortune on one item. Instead, you can buy so many things over time and build a practice and an altar that's beautiful and really based in the reality of your practice. One thing that I love to thrift is art and craft supplies. Paints and stickers and paintbrushes. You can find sewing kits, material to make poppets and things like that. You can find old Barbie dolls that you can then paint up and turn into witch dolls or deity pieces. I think a lot of old dolls, if I remember rightly, I used to like pull the leg off the doll and you could get access through the leg joint. This is just craziness. To the body, which was usually empty, so you could put herbs, hair, fingernails, all sorts of stuff in there, petitions and things, pop the leg back on, make a little outfit, and there you go, it's a poppet. I love finding things, then using them in my witchcraft. I found old frames. I didn't thrift, but I upcycled our old bathroom cabinet that my mum had bought in the 80s, so I'd had it all my life. I didn't want to get rid of it, so I upcycled it into a cabinet for my stuff to go into. Even my bookcases are thrifted, like everything in my room is secondhand. But if you're looking specifically for art supplies, think about your craft and what you want to be doing. You can find yarn, you can find beads. Sometimes if you look in the kids section, there'll be like bracelet making things, Everyone went through a phase, like in the last couple of years, of making friendship bracelets again, and there were loads of kits that came out. Kids soon lose interest in these things, but we can then use those things to make bracelets to wear for our deities. Ribbons that we can use in our artwork, candlesticks, secondhand art supplies. If you can think it, you can find it. Even old magazines that you can use to cut out to make vision boards or to decorate your books and notebooks and grimoires, it's all out there. What I love about all of this is, again, you can use what somebody else bought and then didn't use in your practice to make your own practice so unique and so different. I'll bet if I go into 10 thrifty witches altar rooms, they're going to look completely different. And I often find when I'm going through Instagram that everybody looks a bit samey. And I think if you're anything like me, or if you're an art witch, you don't want to look the same as everyone else. You want your space to feel uniquely yours. And I know my room does. So let's get into money and witchcraft. I'll be honest, disability affects your finances in a way that most able-bodied people don't even realise. They think we're just kind of sitting home lazily, watching telly and enjoying the spoils of all these benefits that we get given. However, the reality is very, very different. I don't get paid as a disabled carer at all. My husband gets a little bit of money as the carer of my mum and me, but he only gets paid for caring for my mum, not for caring for me. I get disability money and my mom gets disability money, but pooling all our money together, we just about make ends meet. I think there can be a lot of pressure on us collectively and me personally as a content maker to have aesthetic social media, or for our practice to look aesthetic, for everything to be beautiful and incredible. But that is not our reality. Our reality is survival and just trying to get through the day without a complete crash. That's what I'm doing today. I'm just trying to survive because we've got boiling hot weather in England at the moment, and comparing me to other people online is very, very difficult to do. My practice, my reels, my pictures, my videos, my vlogs don't look like other people's. They don't look like other witches. I love watching other witches' stuff, but I try not to compare myself with them, and I really call on you to do the same. We've got to stop comparing ourselves or wishing our practice looked like this person or our channel looked like that person's. Guilt about things not being perfect is normal, but realising that by coming at things with an attitude of gratitude rather than comparison, we can really see that our special little path is maybe different to theirs, but maybe it's even more fulfilling. We have no way of really knowing what that person's path looks like, and when the camera turns off, does their witchcraft look the way that they are portraying it to be? I think you need to remember and look around, because some of my own spiritual tools that mean the most to me and get used the most cost less than a cup of coffee. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. We don't have anything to prove. We just need to have devotion and gratitude. Rest is part of our witchcraft practice. It's part of mine. That's what I show on my channel. The other day I had a nap and I dedicated it to my ancestors who worked and worked and worked, many of whom were in workhouses, and so they didn't get to rest even if they felt ill, and so I dedicated my nap to them, and they loved that. I had a really lovely nap. Slowly connecting and collecting with intention over aesthetics, and using everything that we own and bringing accessibility into our practice is going to fulfill us so much more than anything else that we can imagine. Making your space unique is so important. When I see people who have thrifted altars, I can tell right away. It looks so personal. It looks so put together. I love seeing artwork or painted goblets and little pictures that people have painted on the side of a wooden box that they found somewhere. It feels layered and alive and connected with memory and history. It's so beautiful. Have a look round, see if you can find any other thrifted witches and see if you can tell the difference between those aesthetic, expensive altars and the little personal altars that have so much love and joy in them. I think the imperfection adds the character, and I think that mixing styles and mixing different styles of paint and different things, it's beautiful, and that's what our life should be. I know that people like to say, oh, I'm a sea witch, or I'm a this witch, or I'm a green witch, or I'm a what's it witch, but we're more than just that one thing. We really are. Our practice should be as layered and as complicated and as messy and as amazing as each of us are. And I love the vintage witch aesthetic. I love that it takes away that pressure of buying, and I stopped doing hauls here on the channel because I was doing monthly thrift hauls, but I started to feel guilty about it. Like I'm just saying go and buy things, and I was almost pressuring myself into going buying. It was stopping thrifting being fun, and it was starting to be pressure. And so I've moved them now into my weekly vlogs. So if you miss my thrift hauls, check out my weekly vlogs every week. So if I go thrifting, I just show you what I've bought. It's a lot more organic and there's a lot less pressure, and that's what I want to give to each of you, less pressure. My favourite thrifted finds will probably have been shown all the way through that. So please make sure that you tell me your favourite thrifted finds down below in the comments and how you use them in your witchcraft practice, because I would absolutely love to know. There's so many more videos that I can make around witchcraft and thrifting, so if you're interested, let me know down below. If you have any questions, I will certainly do my best to answer, so let me know all the things in the comments. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, you can leave it a cheeky like and subscribe. All these things are free, and they let me know and the YouTubiverse know that you enjoyed the video, and it'll share it out just that little bit more. Have a wonderful, magical week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.